My dad was a builder, and first up we went to Jerramunga, where he was building all the war service homes, soldier settlement homes, and we camped on site in a tent, and that went on for, could be 3 or 4 months. We played with it. In those days when I was very little, we just played with it, but as time went by, we would pack it up and clean up for Dad, and that's where I first got exposed to asbestos, I think so, yeah. I finished high school and went on to be an apprentice builder or carpenter, and then that led me to being exposed fully to asbestos, where I went through my apprenticeship using all asbestos in our houses, and then after I finished my apprenticeship, 2 years after I'd finished, I became a builder, and again, all my whole life has been exposed to asbestos. I've pretty well been from a 2-year-old to now I've been exposed. In the early stages, we only had the asbestos cutters, which we used to cut the asbestos, and then as years went by, we had circular saws and hand saws we cut it with, which all the fibres would just go everywhere. We didn't know about using masks. We didn't use masks. Sometimes we put our hanky around our nose to stop breathing in the dust, but generally we just held our breath and just cut, and that's how we, basically that's what happened with asbestos. I've lost most probably 4 or 5 friends over the last 15 years have died from mesothelioma, all in the building industry. The current one just recently was only about 2 months ago. He was diagnosed at Christmas time, and he passed away a month ago, and that was very quick, very sad. Yeah, I went to the doctor. I always get a bit of a cough in wintertime, and I went to the doctor, and my doctor, who's a personal friend, he said, you've just got a cold. And I said, well, Chris is not happy with just a cold. He said, all right, pop down and have an x-ray. And I come back and there was fluid on my lungs. He said, I think you better go and have a scan. So that same day I went down to have a scan. I had the scan. He'd come back the next day and he says, I've got a feeling that you got mesothelioma. I said, phew, what does that mean? I said, hit me, straight, what does that mean? He said, well, you could only have a year to live. I said, phew, gee. So I went home, seen Chris, and had a bit of a cry. It hit me. It hit me a bit. It's a bit hard to handle now 2 years later, but it hit me hard, and but I had to get on with life. That was over and done with then. It was get on with it, let's soldier through. It's not the end of the world. Get 4 or 5 years. Generally, you don't live that long, but I said, I've got too much to do, Chris. I've got houses to build for my daughter. I've got, this and that to do. I can't stop now. We have to keep going. And at the moment, I'm still building houses. That's nearly 2 years later. And, you have to think positive and just don't lay down.